Hi everyone, my name is Heather Heywood. Thanks for joining us today. I'm super excited to be working with Arts for All Florida to bring art to your home. And today we will be doing a seascape in watercolor pencil or whatever medium you have. And the seascape will be using warm colors and cool colors and a variety of lines. So let's get started. So the first thing I want to do is just point out some key terms or art vocabulary words that we're going to be using. You can see right up here I have some examples of the artwork we're going to create, and the first thing I want to point out is that it's a seascape. So that means that we have water in our picture. Oftentimes that can be an ocean, a lake. I know most of you have heard the term landscape, but this is a seascape. And we have a horizon line where the water meets the sky. In a landscape, it would be where the ground meets the sky. So that's the difference. So today we're doing a seascape. So you can see that we have waves in our picture, also a little bit of land. Those are our mountains back there, and then a sun. And then I want to point out that when we're creating this artwork, after we get it drawn, we're going to be using a variety of different line thicknesses. So just to create a little more interest and variety in this piece, I thought it was a good idea if we used thick and thin lines. So if you look at this example a little bit closer, you can see some of the lines are the regular width of the Sharpie marker and some are thick. And it just makes the piece a little more interesting. The second thing that I want to point out is the colors we used. We used warm and cool colors. The easiest way to remember whether a color is warm or cool is what does it remind you of? Warm usually reminds you of the sun or a fire, and those colors tend to be colors just like the sun: orange, red, yellow. Cool colors remind you of things that are cool. So you can see that we have light blues and regular blues and purples. And then just to add a little more variation to this piece, we're going to throw in a little color in there for the mountains. Okay? All right, so let's get started. You can use whatever paper you have available. Usually for this project I use a watercolor board. I like the stiffness of it. It lasts a lot longer, it doesn't wrinkle, and it's easy to store. So it might be a little more expensive than regular watercolor paper, or you could do this in printer paper if that's all you've got. But if you want to splurge a little bit and buy the more expensive board, that works as well. Okay? So the first thing we're going to do when we do this project is we're going to create our waves. And how I like to do that is I just put 3 dots. I'm going to grab a pencil. I have one right here. I thought I lost it. We're going to create 3 dots on the lower half of our page. It doesn't have to be 3, maybe 2 or 3, and these are just going to be our main waves. So if you look carefully on there, you can see that I put a couple dots on there. And from there, what we're going to do is create a snail type shape. Depending on how much curvature you want to this. Usually how I explain it to my students with disabilities is we're going over the rainbow and off the page. So if I hold this up right here, hopefully you can see that, and we're going to go over the rainbow and off the page right here. And that'll be our starting point, and you'll be able to see it kind of just looks like half of a heart. From there, from that same dot, we're going to go over the rainbow again and off the page. And you can see our wave is starting to take shape. Now we can do that again a third time. Because of the location of this wave, it's going to then go off the bottom of the page again, and then you can decide if you want to add another layer or 2 to that wave. So I'm actually going to add one underneath. And usually once you've done that once, you get the point, right? And then we can do it again pretty easily. So you can see I have my second dot over here. I'm going to have the wave go the same direction. And I go over the rainbow and off the page. Depending on your skill level, You can make the center of it a little more interesting. You can see like this one has much more of a curve in the center of the wave. Mine's a little simpler than that. So based on your skill level, you can decide if you want a bit more of a spiral. So again, over the rainbow and off the page is a good way to describe it. Okay, the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna create our horizon line. We want that horizon line behind our waves, which means we're gonna draw a line across our page, but when we come to a wave, we're just gonna hop right over it, okay? If we draw in front of it, that then throws our waves into the background. So you can see, once I got to that wave, I stopped, and then I continued drawing. And I'm not worried about this being a perfect line all the way across, but it is gonna separate our land from our water. Okay, simple as that. So you can see that I skipped right over those waves. All right, the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna add in some mountains. You can decide here if you want pointed mountains, rounded hills. This is just gonna add a little more variety and color to our piece of artwork. So you can see here, I simply just added some simple mountain shapes or hill shapes to this piece. Okay, hope everybody's doing okay up to this point. Let's just take a minute and get those mountains drawn in. Okay, so from there, the next step would be to include our sun. You can do this in a variety of ways. You can do half sun, whole sun, sun in the corner. What I like about this piece is that the rays come off the page. That kind of takes it to the next level rather than just little sun lines we often see in younger kids' artwork. So I'm gonna add in my sun. You can make it as big or as small as you'd like. Might look something like that. And then also I have some other examples here that might give you some other ideas. You can see in this one, they didn't even use sunbeam lines. They just used the sun kind of going behind the mountain. And then this one right here, they used wavy lines, which I love. Or you can kind of go with this look where it just comes straight off the page. So let's take a minute and add those in. And it might look something like that when you're finished. All right, the next step after you've done that is we're gonna add any detail we want to our water. So right now the water looks kind of plain, but you can see in these examples we have some waves going on in there. I like the example on this sheet that I used as a reference picture. We have bubbles, and those make it look really interesting and fun. So you can add those in if you'd like. So we're gonna take a few minutes and add in a little more variety to our water. So I'll show you what I do in just a minute. I'm gonna do some smaller waves. Okay, and then I'm gonna do some simple ripples that go all the way across. And what I love about this piece of artwork, it's pretty easy regardless of your skill level. Those that are more advanced, you're gonna go above and beyond and add lots of details. I already know that. But if you're a beginning artist or not quite sure where to start or have a hard time coming up with ideas, this is a good project for you. It's not too stressful. So from there, we're gonna add in some additional lines, maybe some bubbles. We can do a variety of sizes for our bubbles rather than just one size. For some reason, I really like the bubbles. Can you guys see that on this picture right here? I love that. Okay, so take a minute and finish those bubbles. I'm gonna stop right there and just go on and tell you how to finish this piece. So the next step in this process is to trace this in Sharpie marker. Now that will take a while, So I'm not going to trace my whole project in Sharpie marker on this video, but what I'll do is I'll show you what I'm doing to create variety in line on this piece. So in some of my lines, I'm going to go really thin, and then some of my lines really thick. There's really no rhyme or reason to it. I'm just picking and choosing a variety of places to make those lines thick or thin. And like I said earlier, I just do this to add a little more variety. Kind of gives it a little bit of a comic book feel, or that you spent a little more time on it. So just something simple like that in your art project, by adding a little more variety to one of your elements of art. We know that line is one of your elements of art. And so by adding that variety and thickness, it just takes it to the next level. Okay, so I'm gonna work off this corner. So you guys should take a few minutes and finish tracing the whole project, and then make some of your lines thicker or thinner. Then, my favorite part, which is the color. I always can't wait to get to the color part. I love that, it's my favorite. Drawing can be fun, and I know some like drawing better than others, but my favorite part is when it's finally time to use the paint. Okay, so you can see that I have some of that traced. Now, I'm going to use watercolor pencil because I'm going to show you a little technique that I think looks really cool for this project. I'm going to try to find some sharpened pencils here. Some of them are kind of dull. So what I like to do is I'm going to color it in with watercolor pencil. If you've never used watercolor pencil before, I love them because they're not very messy. And you have a lot of control, just like you would with watercolor pencils or regular color pencils. So what I'm going to do is I picked a couple different values or shades of orange and pinks and reds, and I'm going to start by coloring that on my board. Okay, so I'm going to get a good area of that colored with that color, and then I'm going to switch. So that when I use this orange color, now I'm going to use this red color. And now I'm going to just kind of overlap it, kind of blend it into the orange that I already have here. If you don't have watercolor pencil, you can really color this in with anything you want. Regular watercolors would work too. So you can see now I added the red. So we have orange and red. And now I'm going to just go for it with this pink color because I think that looks amazing. So we'll color in finish coloring in that section. It almost gives us an analogous color scheme on this board. And what that means by analogous, it means that the colors are close to each other on a color wheel. If you had a color wheel to look at, you would see that these are close. So I have that orange, red, and pink right next to each other. And I'm going to color all my sections like that on my board. And then to finish this project, I'm going to get some water and a brush. And then I'm just going to simply paint over that water, over that colored watercolor pencil on my board, and you can see the magic's already happening. It's turning into watercolor paint. So let me quickly finish that section, and then you guys will just have as much time as you need to color in your piece. After you get it traced in Sharpie marker, color it in, and then use that watercolor paint, those watercolor pencils and paint to fill in your piece of artwork. And by changing the colors up there, I got a little too much water on there, so I hope when I hold this up to show you, I have a feeling it might kind of bleed down. Hopefully it won't. Normally you keep watercolor flat. I can see it running right now, but you can see I'm not going to let it drip too quick. There it is. You can see how awesome that looks. And so you get all that covered, There you go. Starting to drip, so I don't want to hold it there for too long. And then once you get it all covered, it'll look something like that. Or, oh, something like that. All right. We'll pick that back up. Great job, everyone. Thanks for watching Arts for All Florida Spotlight and Art. I hope you enjoyed doing this together with us. Again, if you like this video, please comment below and share it with a friend. We love to hear from you. Feel free to post your own creations on social media. Remember to tag us by using our handle at Arts for All Florida. That's art, the number 4, all for Florida. See you next time.